The day started like any other for 14-year-old Amara, a quiet, intelligent girl with a passion for art. Living with cerebral palsy, Amara had already faced more challenges than many her age, but she had always met them with resilience. However, that sunny afternoon took a turn she and her family would never forget. As she sat on a park bench enjoying a break after school, a uniformed police officer approached her. What followed would shake her community and reveal a surprising twist that no one saw coming. Amara was spending her afternoon at a nearby park, enjoying the fresh air after a long day of classes. She often needed breaks due to the fatigue that accompanied her condition. As she was lost in her sketchbook, a police officer approached her. What was intended to be a routine check, the officer claimed, quickly escalated when he accused Amara of loitering. She tried to explain her need to rest, but struggled with her speech, a characteristic of her disability. Frustrated, the officer's tone grew harsh. Witnesses would later recall that the officer didn't stop with just harsh words. He physically pulled her to her feet, even as Amara pleaded to be left alone. In moments, a small crowd gathered, their phones capturing the unfolding horror. Yet, no one stepped forward to help, fearing reprisal. One witness in the crowd, however, decided not to remain silent. A video clip was uploaded to social media that very night, sparking outrage online. By morning, the video had gone viral, but the community was in for an even bigger shock. Amara's father was not just any concerned parent, he was a special agent with the FBI, and he wasn't willing to let this go unnoticed. Amara's father, Agent David Lewis, had dedicated his life to upholding justice. When he saw the video of his daughter being assaulted by an officer, he was both furious and heartbroken. He knew the difficulty his daughter faced every day, and he had taken an oath to protect the vulnerable. To see his own child victimized by those sworn to protect only deepened his pain. Using his position and resources, David began his own investigation. He didn't want the focus to be on his FBI role, but instead on the greater issue of how the police treated marginalized members of society, especially those with disabilities. With his connections, David reached out to civil rights organizations, disability advocacy groups, and legal experts. The community, now fully aware of Amara's identity, rallied in support. Protests sprang up in the days that followed, as people carried signs reading "Justice for Amara" and "End Police Brutality." News outlets picked up the story, interviewing witnesses, legal experts, and members of Amara's family. With each new development, the pressure on the police department intensified. The police department, initially silent, released a statement claiming the officer in question acted within protocol, citing suspicious behavior as the justification. But as more witnesses came forward and videos continued to circulate, the department's stance began to crumble. What they didn't know, however, was that David was on the verge of exposing details that would forever alter the case. David's investigation revealed a disturbing trend. This officer, identified as Officer James Harden, had a history of complaints involving racial profiling and excessive force, yet he remained on active duty. David compiled the evidence, creating a damning report that he planned to release publicly. Meanwhile, Amara, though shaken, was determined to speak out. With her father's support, she agreed to a televised interview. Her brave words and quiet strength resonated with viewers, bringing a human face to the larger issue of police misconduct. As the city held its breath, David presented his findings to the police department, demanding immediate action. Under mounting public pressure, the police chief suspended Officer Harden and launched an internal investigation. But David wasn't satisfied. He wanted systemic changes to prevent this from happening to anyone else's child. David and Amara's story didn't end with the suspension of one officer. Their fight had only begun. They wanted justice not just for Amara, but for every vulnerable individual who faced undue harm at the hands of those meant to protect. The incident sparked a movement within the community. David collaborated with local leaders and advocacy groups to implement mandatory sensitivity training and accountability protocols for the police department. Amara, though traumatized, became a symbol of strength and resilience, using her story to raise awareness about the rights of disabled individuals and the importance of police reform. The case caught national attention, inspiring reforms in other cities as well. David's persistence and Amara's courage showed the world that no one is too small to stand up against injustice. Together, they reminded us all that sometimes the most painful moments can be the catalyst for the greatest change.